Anyone else homesick?
If you're homesick, this is the video for you. I'm coming at you with the top 5 tips to help you cope with your homesickness. So if you have moved away from home, whether it be just a couple hours away or across the entire world like I have, you have definitely experienced at least some sort of homesickness. If you haven't experienced it, it is this feeling of longing for your loved ones, for like a comfortable, known environment. And it's usually identified with feelings of like nostalgia, grief, depression, anxiety, and withdrawal. Over the 8 years of me living in Australia, I have found things that work for me and things that don't work for me. And today I'm going to talk to you about the 5 tips that have helped me so much with dealing with my homesickness. All right, so we're going to jump right into it with tip number 1 is to let yourself feel it. Let yourself feel your homesickness. In order to actually overcome it and move on, we do need to feel it and process these feelings and emotions. Have a cry, it's good for the soul. It's important not to let it go on for too long because then it's not productive at all. But let yourself feel it. If you need to take some time to just curl up in a blanket and have some comforting tea and just kind of cry and let yourself miss your family and your home, go through it. We need to go through it. It can be brought on by absolutely anything. So for me, for the most recent one, it was a loved one's birthday. My little nephew has just turned 1 and I have not gotten to meet him yet because they're all the way back home in Florida. And that really triggered it for me. But also, you know, holidays, usually Christmas, but also like Mother's and Father's Day, these sorts of things usually bring on a little bit more of the homesickness. Now, with COVID and not knowing when I'm going to be able to go home, it has kind of intensified my homesickness because usually I'd be able to go home once a year, once every 2 years. Like I've been quite lucky like that, but it's been 1.5 years and I'm not sure when I'll be able to go over there or when my family will be able to come out to see me again. So this is something that we have to learn to live with. If you fight the emotions, they're just going to keep coming back and you're not going to be able to process it and it's not going to go anywhere. So let yourself feel it so that we can move on. Tip number 2 is to keep in contact with your friends and family back home. This one is massive for me. Whenever I'm feeling really low and I start to express that to my husband, he always reminds me, Alex, just call your mom, call your sister, call your dad, call someone from back home because that always makes you feel better. And it's hard to hear because when you're going through that feeling, the last thing I really feel like doing is reaching out and talking, but that's what I need to do. And that's probably what you need to do as well. So I'll pick up the phone and I'll call my mom and call my sister. We'll have a laugh. You know, they'll tell me what's going on in their life. I'll tell them about what's going on in my life, and I won't feel so far removed from them anymore. So that is one of the biggest tips, is to keep in contact with your friends and family back home. I still have group chats with my friends from back home as well. We stay up with each other's lives. That is so cathartic for me. I know that it helps a lot of other people who are also missing their home. Tip number 3 is to build a sense of community in your new home. So for me, this was huge. Okay, I had moved from America all the way to Australia to this little city of Newcastle, and all I knew were my boyfriend and his family, and they still lived 40 minutes from where I was living. I lived in a share house with 7 other students at the time because I was going to university, and I'm not gonna lie, it was very tough. It's very tough. Like, the people that I lived with were lovely, and my boyfriend and his family were also lovely and so welcoming to me, but I didn't have my sense of community for quite a while. For me, I found my sense of community when I joined like our local Greek church here in Newcastle, and I started teaching dancing and getting involved with the committee, and I made some lifelong friends. We have Greek nights every few months, and to me that is such a wholesome way to connect with other people and connect with my community, and it makes me feel very at home. So my tip to you is to find something that gives you a sense of community. So whether that be joining a local fitness club like a gym and meeting people there that have similar interests to you, or joining another thing that I'd be interested in is like a lapidary club, so people who are also into gemstones, finding a group that has similar hobbies to you. So if you don't have any hobbies that have clubs, or you don't really want to get involved with the club, there's other ways. So there's online communities. When I moved here, I found this Americans in Sydney Facebook group, and it's a lot of people with similar questions, how they're getting through, now it's like how they're getting through COVID and not being able to see their family, and everyone has these massive discussions. Or if you can find like American food products in some stores, which are like ridiculously marked up, by the way. There was a box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch was going for $10. Not happening. So building your sense of community will make you feel more at home in your new home, and you'll automatically start to feel better. Okay, moving on to tip number 4 is to keep the traditions of your homeland alive. So for me, the main one is Thanksgiving. So if you are unaware, Thanksgiving is just an American holiday. Okay, so it's not celebrated in Europe or Australia or anywhere else around the world. But for me, that is such a warm, fuzzy feeling holiday that kind of leads up into Christmas. And it is so important that I still celebrate that. I'm so thankful that my friends here love the tradition of doing a Thanksgiving, and we always do like a potluck sort of Thanksgiving. I'll do the main things like the turkey and the stuffing and the pumpkin pie, of course, which now I have to make from scratch because we don't have canned pumpkin here, which I think I'll make a separate video on that. I'll do the main Thanksgiving traditional dishes, and then all of my friends will bring a dish, and we all sit together and we give thanks, and we go around the table and we talk about things that we're thankful for. And it's so beautiful to me that my friends who I've made here want to help me celebrate those American traditions that make me feel good. And in return, they also get to celebrate something that's a little bit different to them, but now it's become their tradition, which is amazing. So it's important that keeping those traditions alive so I don't feel like part of me is gone, if that makes sense to you. So tip number 4, make sure you keep your traditions of your homeland alive. And finally, tip number 5 is to make sure you take time to be grateful for the place that you're living in. So whether that be going out for a walk in the beautiful nature trails or around the lake. I live on a gorgeous lake. Or going to a coffee house, your favorite coffee house, and sitting down and enjoying like a really nice cup of coffee, going to any of like the significant landmarks. Do something that makes you really, really grateful to live in the place that you're living in. There are so many people who would love to be in your shoes, to be able to have moved away from home, move out of their hometown, move interstate, move across the world. So many people would love to be doing that, and you're lucky enough to have been able to, so make sure to take time to appreciate it. Having gratitude is one of the most effective ways to overcome sadness. Take time to just be grateful and you'll instantly feel 10 times better. So I hope that these 5 tips to help you cope with homesickness have helped. If you're dealing with homesickness, or you've come across something that has helped you in the past, or is helping you currently, especially with COVID and not knowing when you'll be able to go home and see your family, please tell me in the comments down below, because I'm really curious and I'd love to get as many tips as possible. I just want to help everyone who's going through what I've gone through and am continuing to go through, and just share what works for me. So thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed today's video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe so you can see my next video coming out soon. Thank you. Bye.